Hi guys, it's Kelly Shalal, registered dietitian and personal trainer, the author behind the awesome healthy living blog Hungry Hobby. I'm jumping in today, apparently wearing the same thing I wore the last time I made a YouTube video for you guys, which I said I was going to be doing more of. But you know, when you've got a favorite winter Lorna Jane sweater, you've got a favorite winter Lorna Jane sweater. So, anyways, I'm actually in my kitchen today because I pulled out my tub of UCAN to kind of show you what it looks like. But before I get there, UCAN is what I want to talk about today, and I will link to different posts that I've written about it. I will link to an actual webinar I did with UCAN and a run coach talking about how to use UCAN for feeling. But let's go way back, because when it comes to healthy living in the new year, but really anytime, I think one topic that is really overlooked is blood sugar stabilization or minimizing blood sugar fluctuations. We hear about it a lot when it comes to conditions where there's already a blood sugar issue, like diabetes, maybe even PCOS, or some sort of prediabetes, insulin resistance, etc. And we hear about it in that situation a lot. But we don't hear about it for I don't want to say normal, but the healthy person who doesn't have any pre-existing blood sugar concerns. Maybe someone who's looking to either fuel performance, especially endurance athletes, but also weightlifting, and I'll talk about that. Or maybe you're just looking to drop a few pounds or just feel better throughout the day. And I think that that's one thing that's really overlooked. So I'm going to tell you guys a story that I tell my nutrition class every year when we talk about blood sugar. So the story is, just imagine that you wake up in the morning and you do what I did in college, which was hit the Starbucks drive-thru for a pastry, usually a blueberry muffin, and a super sugary coffee, right? And then, although in college I walked a lot, but let's just pretend that you sit in traffic then and you're kind of pissed off because you're sitting in traffic. So what's going on there internally, physiologically, because that's a situation that a lot of you probably find yourself in. And I'll go over some other alternative scenarios too, like oatmeal or skipping breakfast, that are actually kind of similar. So when you intake all that sugar first thing in the morning, what happens is you skyrocket your blood sugar, right? So it goes up. And even if it doesn't go up past normal limits, right? It doesn't go up like it would for someone that does have blood sugar concerns. It still is high for you, right? And so even if it's within normal limits, it's still high for you. And what happens when you spike your blood sugar is that your body's saying, okay, I've got all this energy going on. Am I going to use it? Well, no, because you're just sitting in traffic, right? Or you're going to a lecture, or going to work, or whatever. I have no way to use this. So your body says, okay, well, this is excess energy, excess sugar. Let me put this away. And if your glycogen stores are full, so that is the way that you store sugar in your muscle and liver, and it's a very finite small amount, 1,500 calories for female and 2,000 calories for males. So that gets topped off really easy, right? And then you have an unlimited amount of ways to store sugar as fat, right? And so what you're doing is you're telling your body, hey, I've got all this excess amount of energy that I can't use at this one time. Let's store it as fat. And because it's mostly sugar that you've intaken, you've spiked your blood sugar, and then you are going to feel a crash. Now, even if your crash is still, again, within normal limits, it might not be like hypoglycemic. It might be just lower than normal, or because you were so much higher, the lower feels really terrible, right? And so you've got that blood sugar spike followed by a crash. And can you guess what happens when that crash comes? It's when you get tired, you get really hungry. Guess what you start to crave? More immediate energy. And so you go from that spike to that crash, and you want that immediate energy, so you reach for sugary beverages, caffeinated beverages, just basically more refined carbohydrates and sugar usually. And so you set yourself up to do that throughout the whole day. So you've got this fat storage and then cravings, and then fat storage and then cravings. To put on top of that, most of us live pretty stressful lives, right? We have all kinds of issues, especially when it comes to, sitting in traffic or being in a job or whatever it is. Likely there are things that are going to stress most of you out throughout the day. And when your stress hormone cortisol is released, that's the body's job, or the body's way of saying, hey, I'm really, really stressed out. There must be something going on. I probably need to either run or fight this tiger in my life, right? And so cortisol's job, it's a hormone, a natural stress hormone, its job is to raise your blood sugar even further. And so it's trying to supply you with energy to flight or fight, right? But most of us are not fighting or running from a tiger in our lives. In fact, instead, we are just sitting there, right? Dealing with the traffic jam, dealing with whatever, our boss, whatever it is. And so, unfortunately, what happens is in the presence of cortisol, the body naturally prefers to store fat. It's already going to store fat because you have an excess intake of sugar, but it prefers to store fat around the midsection. So if you ever heard stress leads to midsection weight gain, that's why. So that roller coaster throughout the day is really, combined with stress and the carbohydrate intake, is really an overlooked part of weight loss or steady weight maintenance or even energy, right? Because you're feeling crappy when you go up and down throughout the day like that. Now, scenario B, say you wake up and you have a healthy breakfast, like a bowl full of oatmeal or whole grain cereal. Unfortunately, because that is a predominantly carbohydrate meal, you're still going to experience the same symptoms of that up and down, right? So that's one of the big reasons why I tell my clients to start their day with protein and fat, right? If you have protein and fat for breakfast, the protein and fat are going to slow down that blood sugar spike. Anytime that you pair a healthy carbohydrate with a protein or fat, you're going to slow down that blood sugar spike. And so you're not going to get such a huge rise. And so then you have the rise and the dip, right? You're not going to get that. So starting at the beginning of the day, including protein and healthy fat by throwing in, nut butter and a protein powder or collagen powder or egg whites or whatever you're into with your oatmeal, and I have tons of recipes for that, is going to really go a long way in stabilizing that blood sugar throughout the day. The other thing is, like I mentioned before, pairing your carbohydrates with a protein or fat. Now, life isn't always perfect, and we're talking about training, and we're talking about maybe you're on long, long shifts where you can't eat, or maybe you're under a lot of stress. There's a lot of different reasons that I recommend Generation UCAN to my clients in order to stabilize blood sugar. The big thing is if you're not doing this up and down motion, then you're here in the middle. And when you're in the middle, your body is actually stably able to burn fat better because it's not constantly relying on blood sugar swings. And that's one of the things I like about UCAN. Now, I always tell my clients that UCAN does exactly what all the other products in the market claim they do. So UCAN was actually developed for a child who, one child, but many use it now, who, for lack of a better explanation, had an issue metabolizing glycogen. So that's that storage form of sugar in the liver and muscles, right? And if you can't metabolize glycogen as a first-line defense when that blood sugar dips, you're going to feel very, very sick. And so you can see the other YouTube video that I'm going to link to that talks a little bit more about his story. But basically, what the product was developed for was to give that stable amount of glucose throughout the entire night so these children can sleep through the night, which is just an incredible story. And as a dietitian, really easy for me to get behind a product that has such a basis in the medical community, right? It was a secondary discovery that, hey, we've developed this product that actually slow releases or slow burns, either way you want to say it, carbohydrate. The more that you take, the longer you get it, not the more you get it once, right? Versus like a goo or a powder or gel that fruit juice, anything with sugar, right, that you intake, the more you take, the more you're going to get it once. Yes, you can do the things I said, pair with a carbohydrate, or pair with a protein and fat, maybe even fiber, to help slow that absorption. But the fact of the matter is that our bodies are designed to digest food, and so you're going to get that all at once versus having it slow release. There's nothing that does that, right? We had to engineer something that does that. And so the more you take, so a scoop of UCAN will actually slow burn, slow drip, whatever you want to say, carbohydrate for about 2 hours. Another scoop would give you another 2 hours. Another scoop would give you another 2 hours. I've heard stories of people doing entire Ironmans on just UCAN because of the slow burn, right? So it's very GI friendly. What it is it's corn starch or fiber that's been heated in a really long process, like a 40-hour process, to change the molecules so that so it was corn fiber, and now it's a starch that can be digested, but because of this unique way that they've heated it and because its unique properties, it's able to slow burn, right? I know it sounds too good to be true, and I've actually had, like, one of my best friends got married this past year, and I had her using it for energy lows, especially while cycling, carb cycling. It was kind of the safe carb to use because it's not going to give you that blood sugar spike and fat gain, right? But it's going to give you some stable energy and help you continue to burn fat. And so she actually told me, I wish I would have listened to you, years ago when you told me about this. I can't believe I'm just now trying it. So it definitely is one of my favorite products on the market. And I've listed in the blog post today a lot of different ways that I use it. I definitely recommend it first line. I work with a lot of teachers and nurses. That tends to be because of referral, and that's how I started. I've had a lot of teachers refer and nurses refer, and it's been really great because they lead somewhat similar lives. They work long hours, they're on their feet all day, and there's no, like, stop for a snack when you've got little kids in the classroom with you, unless you have an actual break, and those are scheduled and few and far between. And obviously, depending on your shift as a nurse, breaks could be minimal. And then both of them fight the teacher's lounge, the break room, etc. And they fight all those sugary things there. So I recommend it for them, usually in the 2/3 of the way through their shift, to fight off that fatigue and craving and give them that energy that they need. So that's one way that I recommend it. I definitely recommend it for endurance athletes because of that slow burn of carbohydrate. Now you're not constantly relying on GOOs, and you're giving something to help your body learn to optimize fat burn, which is extremely important for endurance athletes. I've also used it with my CrossFit athletes and strength athletes, although the use is sometimes we combine it with some fast-releasing carbohydrates as well. And sometimes I do that with my runners too, but usually not. It just depends on where they're at and how they're feeling. And so what that would do is you get that little bit of spike, but because you constantly have that UCAN supplying that blood sugar, you're not going to get a dip. And so you might spike, but then you're not going to dip down too low. So that's just a little bit about the surface of what Generation UCAN is and how you can use it. I will take any questions on the blog comments. I'm best responding. You may comment on YouTube. You totally can if that's where you're watching this video, but best probably is to comment on the blog or send me an email to hungryhobby@gmail.com. And I can answer any questions you may have about Generation UCAN or blood sugar fluctuations or anything like that via email. Obviously, I can't give you personal advice unless you're a client of mine, but I can answer any general questions that you have about it, like how it works and etc. So just shoot me an email, and I'll always let you know if I can answer it or if it's a more personal question, and it would be better working one-on-one. But most questions I should be able to answer. So that's a little bit about it. There's more about it in today's blog post, which I will link below as well. And then today's blog post will have links to past posts that I've written about UCAN, past posts that I've mentioned UCAN in. I've been using it since I worked at Lifetime. Now it's 2014 to 15, so 3 years now. It's absolutely my favorite, hands down, my favorite sports nutrition product. More than anything. I think the story behind it, the medical need, the research they're doing to potentially help conditions like diabetes, and the athlete testimonials just really sum up how great of a product this is, and I wish more people knew about it. So that's why I'm sharing a little bit today on the blog. And really exciting for Generation UCAN is they can now be found in Sprouts. And before, I'd have to tell clients to order them, or if you were a Lifetime member, go to Lifetime and get it there. But now it's going to be in Sprouts, and Sprouts runs their 25% off vitamin extravaganza, which is going on now. And I think through the 11th or 13th, if you're Arizona, I'm not sure about other states, but in Arizona through the 11th or 13th, I'm not sure. But that means that UCAN goes, it's considered, you know, in the supplement category. And so it's got to be that 25% off. So it's a great time to go grab some and try it. The sampler packs are what I recommend for everyone. Everyone has like different flavor preferences. We, as trainers, with my trainer friends, we used to like kind of fight and joke with each other about team different flavors of Generation UCAN. So everyone is going to like a different flavor. It's a little bit chalky, but for all my clients that I've always said, none of them have ever had a problem with it. No one's been like, oh, I can't eat that. So I think especially, you know, athletes are really used to slamming all kinds of gross powders, and this is not one of those. And really, in weight loss, people are used to slamming all kinds of weird stuff too. So there's that. But this is not like that. And so there's lots of different flavors. So I would suggest getting a sampler pack. I'm going to head to Sprouts and get the chocolate because that is new to me. I've always had these crayon razzes in the cabinet, and I'm, you know, big fan of chocolate. So again, if you have any questions, please reach out, comment on the blog post, because other people will, you know, benefit from seeing your questions. And yeah, I hope you have a great day and go grab yourself some and try it out.